I'll just go ahead and get started. All right, everyone. So like I said, this is the key steps to becoming your higher self. What is that? What is the higher version of you? That is what we're going to tap in today. We're going to really make this an interactive experience. So if you don't already, grab some paper or a notebook. We're going to really use this as a journaling experience, create that space and that time to really be able to reflect and really be able to dive in and analyze who that person is and how you want to show up as her. So let's get going. Here we go. All right, a few house rules. So everyone, you're doing great at this already, but keep your mics off the whole time until the end when we ask questions. And then also keep your cameras on, please. I'd love to see your beautiful faces as we go through this. And then any questions that you have, Gab will be monitoring in the chat box. So be sure to keep popping those in as we go. And then I'll be stopping and kind of monitoring the chat too. But we'll be answering questions at the very end, and then we'll be able to kind of make it interactive as we go. So let's dive in. All right. So we already kind of started to do this, but if you haven't, put in there your goals of this hour, why you really want to get, why you are tapping into your higher self, and also add your Instagram profile link, because we want to be able to connect with everybody. We want to be able to stay connected after this chat. So if you haven't already, put your goals in there, why you're here today, and then put your Instagram handle so everybody can connect and stay connected throughout. Awesome. All right, let's get going. Okay, so you might be feeling a little behind the curtain, a little shook, a little unsure of where to start, what to do, who is that higher version of you? What does that even mean, right? It sounds borderline woo-woo, maybe a little uncertain, a little scary. We're going to break it down today into easy steps that you can always come back to, because I always like to say that it's a process of progress, right? It's a process to be able to make that progress on yourself and do that work. And it's an everyday process, right? So make sure you write this down, take lots of notes, because it's something that you're going to want to be able to reflect back to. And as you grow and develop, and as your higher version of yourself continues to grow, you're going to want to be able to kind of look back, reevaluate, and kind of keep making these better. So let's get going. All right. So if I had to guess, this is kind of where you're at, right? You're not exactly sure how to tap into your higher self. You're not sure who he, she, they. By the way, the pronouns, I really tried, but if I was off on any of it, I apologize in advance. So whatever pronoun you go with, that's amazing. And who is that person? Who is that person showing up as? How are they different from you, right? So these are kind of some things that I hear a lot, right? How do I get to that next level? What are some of the tips and tricks that I can use instantly to get into that higher state? So those are the things we're going to kind of go into today. So let's do this. So like I said, if you don't already, grab a journal, because this is going to be your new success journal. So if you have a blank one, that's perfect, because this is going to be something that's going to be ongoing. You're going to keep using it. It's going to be something that you're going to use hopefully every morning, because like I said, this is a practice, not just something you're going to be able to accomplish in one workshop. So do that, refill your coffee, get your beverages, and then let's have a positive and open mindset. All right, we're good? Everyone good? All right, let's do it. Okay, so if you don't know who we are, this is Priscilla and I. So Priscilla and I started The Forward Female in 2019 with our third partner, NJ. And we've supported over 150 entrepreneurs to help them start and grow their businesses. So we're really, really passionate about helping women specific in the business world. We have members all over the world now, which is such a blessing. And we're really humbled and honored to be able to host in-person as well as off-person events like these. And we're excited that now that everything is coming back to in-person, we're going to be rolling out even more for you guys. So we love what we do. We love helping entrepreneurs, and we love helping them reach their goals. So now we want to get to know you. So in the chat, go ahead and put what you do, why you're here, what are you up to in the world, And you already put your handle in there. If you haven't, add your handle. But go ahead and add in there, what do you do? What is your job? What are you passionate about? The goal is for everyone to be able to like connect and get to know each other on screen as well as off screen. So pop that in the chat now. We'll keep going. I'll have a sip of coffee really quick. All right. Okay. So I see everything coming in the chat. All right. I want everyone to kind of just take a breath here. So this is going to be our time to get into that yummy space. So everybody get really comfortable in your chair. If you're seated, put both feet on the ground, get grounded, get planted. I want you to close your eyes, right? Envision with me. So take a deep breath. We're going to go in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Ready? And I'll count through it. So we're going to take a big deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to exhale all of it out in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, while you're in that calm state, now that you've kind of controlled your breathing and started to get into that relaxed mindset, I want you to really start to think, who is the higher version of you? Who is that you 2.0? That person that you want to be showing up as, but maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe you're not quite at that level that you want to be operating at, but you know in your core that you are capable of doing it. You know what you want to achieve. How is she showing up? What is she doing? Really envision her. Think about her on a daily basis. How does she live her day-to-day life? How is she showing up differently than how you are now? And where is that disconnect? Right? So I want you to really, really start to envision it. Everything from what you're wearing to where you're living, where you're working, what you're doing, who are the people you have around you. You know, maybe if you're at a point in your life where you're getting to a new chapter, you're maybe shedding some of the old and you're moving into this evolution of the new, right? So who is that new evolution of you? Who is that higher version of you that you strive to be? Only you know your capacity of what you can really accomplish. So I just wanted to encourage you to really envision her, really get into it, right? Okay. So I love this quote. Don't limit your future based off your past, right? We've all have a past. We've all been through things, you know, some more challenging than others, but we cannot look back and let our past define where we're going. They say that joy is comparison is the thief of joy. And that when you're not living in the moment, in the present, that you're either constantly overanalyzing the past or you're trying to predict the future. And either way, you're not present. You're not in your current moment. You have to be able to get that grounding of where you're at right now and be able to feel really grateful and get that good energy flowing in order to like move it forward into the future. But if you're constantly worried about the past, you're overanalyzing, you're thinking through it, you're regretting things, you're never going to be able to move good energy into your future because you're constantly digressing and overanalyzing your past and that lower negative energy. So we're going to kind of go into that a bit more. So step one of getting to your higher self is envisioning, right? So we just did that a little bit with our meditation, and that was really quick of doing one round of breath. But I encourage you to get a practice going, and whether it's the 4-4-4 or whatever works for you, get a good routine of being able to take some deep breaths and really get into that state of mind. Really envision who is that person, who is that higher version of you, and really see how can I get to that level, right? So everyone pull out your journals. We're going to start getting interactive. So now that we've kind of envisioned her, right? We were thinking about it. We were really kind of getting into that mode. We want to really get deeper and say, okay, how can we really now project into the future and really predict and also create what we want, right? So a year from now, I want you to take out your journals. We're going to do 3 different categories, right? So put your higher self on the top and then put 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. I want you to really think about it. Don't just write out like, oh, I'll be successful. Get really specific, right? So a year from right now, this very moment, right? October 12th. I'm like, what day is it? October 12th, 2023. Where are you right now? Where are you living? Where are you working? What are you doing? Are you hanging out with a bunch of friends all the time? Are you working your butt off hustling? Are you taking a vacation? What do you want? Where are you trying to go? Where do you see yourself 1 year from right now? October 12th, 2023. Okay, start there. Then really start to expand. And I'll give you some time to write this out and obviously come back to this because this is a lot longer of a journaling prompt than we're going to have time to really dive into today. But I really want to encourage you to really dive into it and start to get specific, right? The more specific we are, the clearer you're going to be able to create it and attract it to you because you're telling the universe exactly what you want. And that's how you're going to align it and bring it back to you, right? So 1 year from now, where are you? What are all those details? 5 years from now, right? That might be a little harder to kind of envision. Where do you really like see yourself? What is the goal? Like, what is that success point, right? Most people think, oh, in 5 years, I'll be successful. Well, what is that? What is successful? You know, and don't just say making a lot of money or have my dream job. Say exactly what that is. If you want to make a lot of money, put a dollar amount on it. Say 5 years from now, I want to be making $100,000 a quarter. I don't know, whatever your goal is. Get really, really specific because the more you can put that number on it, the easier it is. And also with these goals, once you get really clear on them, it's easier to reverse engineer, right? Once you know, okay, I want to make $100,000 in 1 quarter, you break it down and say, okay, that means every month, those 3 months, I have to make X amount of dollars, which means I have to bring on X amount of clients or do this much work, these many projects. It helps you be able to get clear, get that clarity of saying like, it's not just some number, some pie in the sky of, oh, I want to be successful. I want to make a lot of money. No, it's really taking your power and saying, this is exactly what I want. And this is how I'm going to do it. Right? Okay. Oh, James agrees. 10 years from now, hey, sorry, everyone. 10 years from now, I want you to not necessarily think about where will you be and what will you be doing, but I want you to think bigger. Who do you want to help? What is the impact you want to have, right? So the year from now, 5 years from now, it's all about you, right? You're trying to define like, how are you going to be successful? What do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be living? Like, think like the top. Don't like dull your life down. Like if you were living your best life, like if you were dream life, money was no object, what would you be doing? Where would you be living? All those things. Now in the 10 year, I want you to really think about, you have all that, right? You are her. You have accomplished it. You made it. You are successful by your terms. You are making all the money. You're doing all the things. Now I want you to think bigger. Who are you going to help? And what is the impact that you're going to leave, right? The impact that we leave behind is our legacy, right? And whether that is our relationships and the impact we have on people, or it's physical projects and things and businesses that we leave behind, what kind of impact do you want to have? Are you going to inspire people? Are you going to help them in certain ways? how are you going to take this now success that you have and these gifts that you've really channeled to be living your best life, to be doing the things you want to be doing? And how can you broaden that to help more people, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's about taking our gifts and helping not only ourselves, but helping others. And so really think about that. And, you know, like I said, I encourage you to keep journaling on this. Don't just let this be a one-time thing, because this is a loaded question. You know, it's heavy, but in a great way, and get excited about it. Think about, what are my true gifts, right? If money was no object, what would I want to be doing every single day that lights me up, that I love? Maybe it's you have great style. Maybe it's you're a great organizer. Maybe it's you're great with finances, right? What are those things that people just naturally tell you you are amazing at? What are those things? That usually indicates kind of what your natural talents are, right? So keep going through this, keep writing. I'm going to keep going, but I want you guys to keep thinking on this, keep getting into this mindset. All right. So now that you've started envisioning it, right? You started kind of getting clear on who that person is, where you want to be a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, the impact you really want to have. I want you to kind of come back to where we are now, and let's get some clarity. So I always like to start with gratitude, because gratitude is the simplest way to pull you out of a different state or a different emotion and bring you back to your present. And so when you're grateful, you're able to really appreciate everything that you have, but really get into this state of mind where it's this attitude of gratitude, right? It's this higher level of energy that you're attracting. And when you're at that level, you're able to bring in things that you didn't even realize, because you're like, wow, I knew I wanted that, but I had no idea how that was going to happen, right? That's kind of the power of manifesting. And so getting really clear about what you want, it goes into your envisioning process. It goes into that manifestation process of, okay, I know where I want to go. I know the direction. Now let me get really clear on what I already have, right? Let me get really clear on where I'm at now and what I can like give thanks for. So I want you guys to go back to the journal and list out 5 things right now that you're grateful for. It can be easy. It can be simple. It can be your health. It can be your friendships. It can be just showing up for yourself for this workshop. List 5 things right now that you're grateful for. I'll give you a couple seconds. James? No. So as you're doing that, I want you to really think about kind of the different categories of your life, right? So it can be your personal, so maybe it's your family, your health, your friends. It could also be your business. So maybe it's the fact that you get to wake up and do what you love every day. That's a huge thing to be grateful for. You know, maybe it's just that we have our basic freedom rights, right? It's crazy what's happening in the world right now, and our freedom is a huge thing to be grateful for, right? Keep going, list out 5 things right now. Hey, sorry everyone for James's little appearances in the background. All right, so as you finish listing the 5, I now want you to write 3 things below it that you have in your life that you're like, wow, this is no longer serving me. I acknowledge it, I thank it, and I'm going to release it, right? What are those 3 things that you could say, I am ready to let go of this? Like maybe it served me prior, maybe it served that 1.0 version of me, but it's not going to serve that 2.0 version of me. What are 3 things? They can be simple, but what are 3 things that you're ready to just release and let go of? I want you to write those out right now. Okay, are we getting that? I don't know where everyone's at with their writing, but like I said, if this is too fast of a pace, please come back, because these are great journaling prompts to work on as well. And then lastly, I want you to list 2 new habits that you want to create, right? So the 5 things you're grateful for, the 3 you're letting go of, and then 2 new things. What are 2 new things that you're going to bring into your life that are going to help you get to that next level, right? So go back to what we were just doing when we were envisioning her. Get really clear. What is she doing now that you're not, right? Where are some of those discrepancies that you're like, wow, she wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. I've been waking up at like 10, but what are some things that you can really start to do? So if that's the case, maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I go to bed earlier so that I get up earlier so I can start my morning fresh and have a good morning routine, right? Maybe creating a morning routine is a new habit that you need to get into. Maybe it's eating healthier. Maybe it's working out, whatever it is for you, get that clarity and write it down now. 2 new things. Awesome. I'll give everyone kind of a second to get through that. Great. I'm going to keep going, but feel free to keep writing. And like I said, come back to these. So I love this quote. The quality of your life comes down to the quality of questions you ask yourself. So what kind of questions are you asking, right? It goes into your mindset. And mindset is a huge, huge, huge part that goes into manifesting your higher self, right? Because at the end of the day, you know yourself better than anybody else. You are the one that's going to be able to create her or him or they. And you are the only one that is going to be able to embody it and envision it. And so when you ask yourself questions that are disempowering, that don't bring you to that higher level, that bring you back down to a lower vibration, a lower state, that's what you're going to get back, right? Your voice in your head can either be your best friend, your best friend, or your biggest critic. And so you choose how that voice talks to you, right? And it's so easy for us to slip into this negative mindset where we talk to ourselves so mean, right? Like we're so harsh on ourselves. We're like, oh, you're so dumb. Why did you do that? Or why did you say that? Or why didn't you do it like this, right? We're hard on ourselves. But when we ask ourselves those questions, that's just bringing us down more. It's not fueling us up. And so when you switch your mindset and switch the questions you're asking yourself, and you start asking yourself empowering questions, that's when you can use the voice inside your head as your best friend and as a coach, really. There's a great book that if you haven't read it, it's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, I think. Don't quote me on that. But it's great because he goes into the voice in your head and he really talks about identifying that voice and almost separating it from self. And he aligns it with the voice inside your head is like the voice that's connected to source or God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. And so for me, that was a really interesting concept of almost separating my body and myself from that voice in my head, right? Because it is different. You can almost separate it and identify the voice talking to you as you go through your life. And if you think that the voice is just on autopilot and just telling you whatever, and you have no control, you'll kind of just be victim to whatever the voice says. But when you really are able to separate and say, no, I have that power and I'm going to utilize the voice in my head as my best friend, it works in a different way. You're able to ask those empowering questions. You're able to really utilize your own mind as a tool and not as something that's constantly like beating you down, right? Because it's easy to sometimes get into those negative loops, those negative thought patterns where we either get harsh on ourselves or we speak negative to ourselves, and it manifests, right? So the power is starting with positive thoughts. And I like this quote because I think it's true that the questions you ask yourself dictate the life you live. So let's keep going. All right, so now back to some more journaling, but I want you to kind of dive into your own thought processes, right? So I just kind of went into a little bit about how empowering questions really raises your vibration, really helps you get to that higher state. But I want you to really be honest with yourself. Like, where are you at right now with your self-talk? Okay, it's just me and you here. You can be honest, write it in your journal. I want to know, how are you actually talking to yourself on a regular basis, right? Are you being kind to yourself? Are you giving yourself space for grace? I always love saying that. I always tell myself, Lauren, give yourself the space for grace. It's okay if you make mistakes. It's okay, but don't sit there and beat yourself up and say you're a bad person because you messed up. That's not okay. That's where you have to change the thought pattern and change that self-talk. So where are you at right now? Are you talking to yourself nicely? Are you condemning yourself? Are you complimenting yourself? Where are you on that kind of scale? I want you to start writing it out and be really honest. You know, are you controlling your thoughts? Are your thoughts controlling you? Are they just kind of spinning in a loop and you're just listening to whatever it says? Are you saying, no, I'm going to stop that thought pattern because I know that I can accomplish this. I know that I'm not stupid, even though I just told myself that, right? It's so easy for us to be mean to ourselves. But if you think about it, you would never treat your best friend or somebody that you love like that. You wouldn't sit there and tell them that they're stupid because they couldn't figure something out. No, you would say, well, maybe try it like this. Have you ever thought about it like this? And those are the empowering questions that you can really start to ask yourself. When you learn how to use your mind as your own tool, that's when you can really start to get leverage on yourself, right? Leverage to make those changes. Say, no, I'm not stupid. I'm intelligent and I have so many skills. And actually, I never even thought about trying it like this. How can I do it like this? Ask yourself those empowering questions. Take your power back. Don't let your mind run rampant and tell you all sorts of things that half of them are not true, right? Our mind likes to create false narratives. It's dramatic. It likes to create these little mini drama series in our head, right? For example, a friend, you could call a friend and maybe they didn't call you back and you don't hear from them for a day. And then your mind starts going crazy. Your mind is like, that person hates me. They don't want to talk to me. It's something I did, da, 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 right? Your mind can just start to go rampant. But really, it's creating a false narrative that you don't even know is true. That person could just be busy or out of town or on a plane. You have no idea, right? But your mind, because you aren't controlling it and you miss the awareness moment of being able to kind of take your control back, now your mind is running rampant and is creating all these false narratives. So as you live your life and as things like that come up, you know, that was just a simple example, but as you kind of go on your day-to-day, really think about that. Think about, have that awareness. Say, okay, am I controlling my mind or is my mind controlling me? Like, how is this working here? Am I using my mind to fuel me and to empower me and asking myself those empowering questions? Or am I letting it drain me and making me feel like crap, right? Get clear on what you need and what kind of questions you need to be asking yourself. Is that making sense? Yeah, okay, we'll keep going. All right, so as you do this, I want you to kind of think about your life into buckets. I call them buckets, but really it's kind of defining your core values. So I just put really basic, simple ones to kind of get your brain going. So I want you to just divide it up between personal and professional for right now. You can do this into a bunch of different other categories as you go. But for right now, just start with your personal and your professional. I want you to list out 4 to 6 in each one. What are the main things that you feel like you have to be making deposits into in order to fuel you up and to keep you going and that make you happy, right? And maybe it's something like your health where it's mandatory, right? Your health is your wealth. If you don't have your health, you aren't going to be moving forward. You aren't going to be hitting your higher version of yourself ever, because you're never going to be able to get there. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes right now. What are 4 to 6 things in each side that you have to have there, have to have in place, those buckets that you have to be filling in order to feel full, in order to feel like you're accomplishing things and you're successful, right? I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds, write those out. Right? And as you think about it too, really think about, what do I feel like, if you're getting stuck on this, think about like, where do I feel like maybe I need to add things into my life, right? Maybe it's, I haven't seen my friends in months, right? So you're feeling empty, you're feeling depleted. You know that friend category needs some love, right? Think about kind of where your life is at right now, and then go back to that envisioning stage that we were at of your higher self and look at the discrepancies. Look at how that person is living versus how you are living right now, right? What buckets are they constantly filling up, and what deposits are they putting into, right? It's important to get really clear on the individual categories. So as you kind of keep doing that, I want you to start writing out at least one. And like I said, please come back to this because you can do much more than one, but at least one in each category of a deposit that you're going to do right now in your current state that is going to help you get to that higher level, right? So I'll give you some examples. So for family, maybe a deposit is you need to go home and see your parents. You need to go spend some time with family, right? That's something you can do, not right now in this very moment, but that's something you can do as your current self that's going to help you feel like you're getting to that higher level, your higher self, right? Your health. Maybe it's, that your higher self is operating at 100 because they're healthy, they're eating clean, they're working out every day. Maybe you need to start with just going on a walk every day, right? Or drinking more water. It can be simple. Small deposits in the bucket will eventually fill that bucket, right? And you need to think about, what are the things that I'm doing that are making the deposits that are really filling it up, right? And certain things fill more than others. But think about things that you can be doing immediately in your current state, not 5 years, not 10 years, right now, right? So think about that for your personal side, and then really go over into your professional side as well. I like to separate them because for me, it can get too jumbled if it's business and personal. So I like to separate them. And like I said, you can even divide these into way more categories, but just to get your wheels spinning, right? What are those buckets that you have lined up that you're like, wow, my health bucket is running low. I am almost on empty. That thing is dry as a rock. Like, I got to be putting some deposits in there. Otherwise, I'm going to feel burnt out, right? Think about those things. For your business, where are you at with your business or your brand or your career? What do you really need to be adding into those buckets? What's really crucial that's going to move that needle forward, right? So keep thinking about this. We're going to keep going. So this really ties in what success means to you. So like I was talking about, defining your buckets, what areas you really need to be putting those deposits into, what's really important. When it comes down to it, if you took away everything, what is really important to you? And it can be the simple things of your family, your friends, your health, all of those things, right? But then get the clarity on, like, what are you going to be doing to fill the buckets, right? So now that you're in that mindset of I'm filling them, I'm putting all the buckets out, I'm lining them up, I know where I need to put more in. Really think about, I want you to think about the long term versus the short term, right? There's two games you got to play in almost every area of your life. And with these buckets and these deposits, you really have to think of it as the short-term deposit of that instant gratification. You know, what can I do right now to see that water filled, or that line filled, or whatever you want to call it, the bucket filled, right? You know, and maybe your health, going on a walk, you're going to instantly feel better. That's a short-term deposit, but a long-term deposit as well. So there's a difference between what you can do instantly that you'll get that instant gratification right back. And then what are those long-term investments, right? What are those things that you're doing that you're going to have to keep chipping away every day, keep depositing, and you might not see it right up front, but you know, in the 5-10 years from now, that's showing up for your higher self. That those deposits that you've put in, you're playing the long game, right? You know exactly where you're trying to go. You know that those little things that you do on a consistent basis might not give you that instant gratification, but they're going to give you that long-term reward, that long-term gain and return. So think about it in that way, those two kind of areas in your buckets as you're putting in those deposits. All right. So now that we've kind of defined our areas, our core values, our buckets of what we really want to be clear of, what we're putting into, right? What we're depositing. I want you to get really, really clear on your destination, right? So me and P always say, define your destination, know where you're trying to go, right? Hers is her Fiji moment, mine's my Bali moment. Like, we always have these visions, right? And I want you to get really, really clear. What is your vision of if you were living your best life? Take away money, take away the complications, take away all the fluff, right? If you could just live your best life and you close your eyes for a moment, where do you see that happening? Are you on a beach? Are you sitting in your mansion that you just bought all cash? Are you driving around your dream car? Are you in Lake Como? Where are you? Like, where are you in the world? Where do you want to be, and how do you want to feel, right? So for me, I've always pictured Bali. I don't know why, just I guess the rice fields and the majestic palm trees and beauty of it just draws me in. But for me, I picture that Bali moment of me laying out on a hammock in this beautiful like bamboo villa that's overlooking all these like rice fields. Like, I can see it so clearly. I can see it so clearly. I can see how I feel. I can see how relaxed I am. I can see how grateful I am and the energy I'm putting out. Get really, really clear. Where are you trying to go, right? Where is that destination? And we always say that you can't plan the itinerary until you know the destination, right? And they always say that there's going to be some detours on the way to your destination. And that's okay. That's great. You know, let there be a layover here and there. And, you know, maybe you'll stop here and maybe you change course and maybe your destination changes altogether as you go on this journey and as you figure it out. But that's okay. That's the point. It's as you go down that path, we're constantly changing and evolving and we're growing, right? So keep thinking about that. Keep thinking about that destination as we keep talking about this. So now that we've kind of gone through the envisioning, we've gotten clarity on who is that person, who is the higher self. You've really analyzed your core values and defined what are those buckets that I need to be putting in, and where am I trying to go? Where's that destination, right? Where is that end game for me that I'm trying to get to? Now, right? We have it so clear. We know, we're clear. We got it. We have our destination. Now I want you to really like step into that higher self, right? So really envision that you are her now. You are stepping into that person now. So how are they feeling, right? What is she doing? How is she showing up? Is she confident? Is she fearless? Is she brave? Like, start writing out some adjectives that describe her. What really makes you happy? Right? Start thinking about all those things. Write a few things down, right? Once you keep getting clarity on that, I want you to start thinking about, how can I embody that right now? Right? So you think about your 2.0 self. How are they showing up? Maybe they're confident. Maybe they're outgoing. Maybe they're a little loud. And that's not you right now at all. You're shy, you're quiet, you're not feeling confident. How can you start to implement some of those things that you just wrote down? Right? And it can be small steps. Maybe it's going out with a group of people and challenging yourself to speak up more. That's going to help you feel more outgoing, right? How can you start embodying that? What can you put on an outfit that's going to embody that confidence and that feeling and that higher level energy that's going to make you feel like, wow, I'm a badass. Like, I'm showing up as her now. Like, I'm a boss now, right? Like, what are those simple things that you can be doing that can help you align to that higher version of you? Start jotting some of that down. So I love this GIF. It's so funny. So once you've kind of gone through all of it, be prepared to pivot. Like I said, it's going to keep changing and evolving. Your destination might not always be the same. Maybe you get to Bali and I'm like, this isn't even where I wanted to be. I actually would rather be, I don't know, in the middle of the city in New York, right? You figure out what you want to do as you do it. And so don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and to change your ideas and change your plans and change your destination, because it's going to happen, right? The whole point is enjoying the process, enjoying the journey, making sure that you're happy in the now and you're not constantly always chasing the future and you're not over analyzing the past, right? We want to analyze it and get clear and envision and manifest the future, but we don't want to become obsessed with it to where that's all we think about and we miss out on what's happening right now, right? That's important. Can't even see what I wrote. So how can you apply your future self into your current evolution, right? You're on this process, you're going through these changes. Maybe it's a new chapter for you in your life altogether. You're feeling these kind of shifting, growing pains. How can you really start applying those things? So some of the things we just jotted down of how you can embody her, what are some of those things that you can apply right now, right? Maybe it's waking up and dressing to the 10, to the 9s on your Zoom calls. I haven't said to the 10s, to the 9s on your Zoom calls, and showing up for yourself in that way to where you feel good, you look good, you're confident, you're giving out that energy. Maybe it's being able to be quiet and take that time for yourself and meditate every morning and be able to connect with that higher version of you and get clarity on it every single day, right? What are those simple things that you can start applying right now that is going to help bring her to fruition, help manifest her into the now, right? Into that evolution. So how can you start showing up as her now? So taking action, like I was just saying, really getting into simple things, right? And sometimes you got to fake it till you feel it, right? It's a funny quote, but I like saying it because sometimes you have to get into the motion in order to feel the emotion. You have to get into the motion in order to feel the emotion. And so you have to take action. You have to start showing up as her And you have to be able to get that momentum going to where you believe it, right? You feel that energy. You're showing up as her. You have that confidence. It's not just you're thinking it, you feel it now because you're acting it and you're putting it into motion. You know, dressing like her, acting like her, all these things I'm saying. It's really like being able to step into that higher version of you that you want to become, right? Taking those risks. If you were to get to the end of your life, what would you look back and regret that you didn't do? Right? Those are the hard questions to answer. Those are the things that you're like, wow, I wish I would have just been more confident, or I wish I would have just like gone for it. Do it. Go for it. You can. Now is the time to make the change. Pivot by all means. You got to be able to change in order to see change. So compare yourself to your current situations and your higher version situations of saying like, what would my higher self do? You know, if you're in that Zoom call and you're feeling shy, but you know you should speak up and you know your higher self would be speaking up, push yourself. Say, well, Lauren 2.0 would speak up and do that. Like, why can't I do it right now? Right? Start acting like that person, showing up as her. Showing up as her. Yes, that's what I just said. So that is like what it's all about, is having the feeling, having the emotions, and getting clear on it first, but then being able to act it out, be able to really put those small deposits into the buckets, right? And you got to be able to identify it, but then also really embody it and be it and attract it. And that's what's going to keep it perpetuating, is being able to put out that good energy and be able to get that vibration back that you're wanting. So, all right. I know that was a lot. I just talked your ear off for like an hour. So I want to get a pulse check. Everybody in the chat right now, put a 1, 2, or a 3 where you're at. A 1, you're like, I got this. I'm starting to feel good. I'm feeling the higher vibes. 2, you're like, I'm kind of getting it, but I'm not sure. And 3, you're like, I'm lost, girl. You totally lost me. Drop it in the chat now. Gab, let me know what's coming through.
We got lots of 1s, which is really, really exciting.
Good. Yay.
We did have a question. So someone wanted you to explain a little bit more of the 2.0 version of yourself, what that really means.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, a 2.0 version of myself means like that next upgrade, right? Your software update, if you will. So for me, that is how I think of my higher version of myself. And for me, I always like to think of it in like iterations, right? Because you don't just like evolve from 0 to 100. You go through the kind of the iterations and, you know, the software updates, if you will. And so for me, I like using that analogy of the 2.0 because for me, I feel like, okay, if I'm at Lauren 1.0 on this first level of software, what can I do, or what updates are going to be made for Lauren 2.0? You know, think of the iPhone, right? Like, what is the new iPhone going to have that the last iPhone didn't have, right? What are those new specs that you're like, oh, I need that camera, girl. That has got like depth and portrait mode, and I need that. And like, that definitely needs to be in the 2.0, right? So like, think about for yourself, like, what are the things that are showing up in your 2.0 self, that higher version of yourself, right? Those were all the things we were kind of going through. So getting the clarity on how is she showing up? What is she doing differently than you're doing right now, right? What are those differences that maybe you are working a 9 to 5 and 2.0 version of you is living her best life, traveling the world with passive income, you know? Figure it out, get clarity on what is that next version of yourself and what is that like next iteration. And then you can also, I mean, once you hit 2.0, you can go 3.0, 4.0, you know, it's just a fun kind of analogy of thinking about ways that you can kind of upgrade. And I think using the iPhone to kind of compare is a good way because you always see the new capabilities each time they bust out a new iPhone. So think of it like that in a way. Did that answer your question, whoever asked it? Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, ready for 5.0.
Yes, 5.0, let's go. I love it. So just to recap, I know I just gave you a lot, right? Like I keep saying, this is a lot to digest. These are loaded questions. So please come back to them, reanalyze them, and keep adding to it, right? This is how you develop that 2.0 software. You have to keep developing it. It's an R&D phase, baby. You got to keep it going. You got to keep researching. You got to keep developing it. So really go through the steps, right? And these were the 5 steps we went through today. Envisioning who that person is, getting clarity, right? How do you want to show up as them? What are they doing differently? Analyze it. Analyze those categories that they have in their life that maybe you don't have, and the differences, and define it. Define your destination. Define your own version of success, right? It drives me crazy when people are like, I want to be successful. And I'm like, well, what does success mean to you? And they're like, well, I want to make a lot of money. No, that's not success, honey. Like you got to get really, really clear, right? You want to make a lot of money? Great. Write a number on it. Put a date on it. Get so clear that there's no questions, right? The universe cannot question it because you are so clear on what you want, right? Define it. And then lastly, embody it. Start to act as them. Start to implement those little tips and tricks that you've started to write down. Start to act it, start to live it, and it can be as simple as dressing as her, showing up as her, having the confidence as her, start to really embody it. So I know that was a whole lot. Now we'll go kind of deeper into Q&A. Everybody take a sip of coffee. I'll take a sip of coffee. It was a lot of chatting. And we're going to dive into some Q&A. Oh, first, I'm going to give you resources. Just kidding. So I always like to say, have your toolkit handy. So you have to kind of go through and define your own tools, right? As you live your life, your toolkit will grow. You'll add more tools to it, but really get clear on like what works for you. Everyone thinks that there's these kind of cut and clear things that anyone can do to be successful, which yes, there are some, but you need to be able to get like clarity on how it works for you, right? So I put a dedicated time in your schedule to tap into your higher self. That can mean a lot of different things, right? For some people, that's journaling. For some people, that's meditating. Some people, that's going on a run, whatever it means, therapy, whatever you need to do to be able to create the space. Maybe it's calling your mom, whatever you need to do, but create that space for yourself to be able to think it out, talk it out, act it out, right? Like channel yourself into that higher version, right? Next is educating and motivating yourself. So books, podcasts, seminars, schooling, good content, yummy, positive things you can watch and fill your brain with. Keep doing that. Keep thinking of like, what would that next 2.0 version of me be reading and watching and wanting to know and share, right? Go back to the 10-year plan. How are you sharing this? What kind of impact are you having on people? If you get lost along the way, go back to where you're ending, right? Begin with the end in mind. And lastly, find a supportive community that can encourage you. So we're all about that here. We are huge on community having as a support system, because really in your personal life and in your professional life, it's absolutely essential to have that community and that support system that has your back, to not only be able to have as a sounding board, but also on those tough days that you don't want to keep going. You're like, no, I'm good. I don't want to become my higher version of myself anymore. That's hard, right? It gets like that sometimes. And so you need that community. You need that support system that's going to have your back and remind you why you started in the first place and encourage you to keep going.